Hello and welcome back. In this video, we're going to add validations to our user class. So first of all, I'm going to create a feature branch to implement the validations. So I'll do git space checkout space -b, and the name of the branch, I'll say user-validations. Okay, now I'll open a new terminal. And then if I go to cd code, Rails projects, alpha-blog, it automatically puts me in user validations branch. And over here, I'll jump on the Rails console. Okay, so here are some of the validations that I've thought up for the user class. Username must be present for each user, and they must be unique. Email must be present, and email must be unique as well. And then we're going to validate the format of the email that's being entered to ensure that it's in the correct format of an email. So let's get started. First thing we're going to do is pull up our user model. So app models user.rb. Okay, this is where we're going to add our validations. Now to look at the validation helpers that are available to you, you can pull up a browser window and go to guides.rubyonrails.org active record validations. You can also Google this and this will show up. And on the right here, it has all of the validation helpers that are available to you. Okay, so we're going to use some of these, but I would recommend, if you have some time, just read through some of these validation helpers so you're familiar with it. So back to our application. First thing, we're going to validate the username. So validates space colon username presence colon true. Now this will ensure that username is present. That's the only one it's going to ensure. But we also want to enforce a length validation. So we'll say something like this. Length colon space within curly brace. We want to say username can be minimum 3 characters and maximum 25 characters. Okay, save that. So we're in the Rails console. We just updated our user file. So I'll just do reload. Whoops, I think it's reload bang. Okay, so let's try creating a user. User equals user.new. And I'll say username colon JO and email hello. Hit enter. So there's my user object, in-memory user object, which just got created. Now if I try to do user.save, it's not going to work because the username is just 2 characters and we enforce a minimum of 3. So if I type in user.errors.full_messages, username is too short, minimum is 3 characters. There you go. Okay, the next thing we have to ensure is that username is unique. So if you want to look up the helper for uniqueness, you can go over here in our web page, and here is the uniqueness helper that's available. So it takes the format of validates, the attribute you want to validate, and uniqueness true. So let's quickly go and add that. Presence true, uniqueness true. Save that. Let's reload our console. Now user, we still have the in-memory user object. Let's set our username to Joe. So user.username equals JOE. Okay, now user.save. This time it got saved because it passed our minimum length validation. Now let's try creating another user. User2 equals user.new and then username colon with the same username as Joe, and email we'll say within quotes, anything. Now let's try saving user2, user2.save, rollback transaction, it didn't save, so user2.errors.full_messages. Username has already been taken. Now what if we try this? User2.username equals Joe with the J capitalized. Okay, so Joe. Then hit enter. Now if I type in user2, if I type in user2.save, it works. Now we don't want to allow this, okay? So how do we do that? See this over here that says uniqueness true? We can add a case sensitivity constraint to this. So I'll move length below. So uniqueness true, if I simply make this within brace, case sensitive colon false. Now what this will do is it'll ensure uniqueness, but it'll also ignore case sensitivity, okay? So you can't have what we just did, which is Joe with the J capitalized. It would be treated as the same as Joe, username Joe with J lowercase. So let's try it again. We'll create a new user. Actually, reload, bang. User3 equals user.new, and then username colon, I'll say JO with the E capitalized, and then email, I'll say anything again, user.valid question mark. Whoops, I've entered in the wrong one. I have to say user3.valid question mark. False. So if I try to do user3.save, it won't hit the database. user3.errors.full_messages, hit enter. Username has already been taken. Now, even though the E is capitalized, it's not seeing it as different. Okay? So there you go. You have validates username, presence true, uniqueness, case sensitive false, and then length validation. All right. So that takes care of username. Now let's do the same for email. So validates email, presence true. We'll give it a length, and within curly brace, we'll say maximum colon 105, close curly brace. We'll enforce the uniqueness. So uniqueness, case sensitive false, close brace, and then format. This is what we're going to do to basically check the validity of the email format. And I'll tell you what I'm doing with this in a second. Now format colon space within curly brace with colon valid underscore email underscore regex space close brace. All right. Now let's tab this over. Now this valid email regex is going to check for valid format. So we have to check for validity by setting this valid email regex. And we're going to do that above this over here. Valid email regex colon. Now we have to define this. And we're going to define this using regular expressions. And you can Google regular expressions to read up about them, but there is this tool out there that's really helpful, rubular.com. Here, you can test out your regular expressions and then put in a string to see if it matches that format. So the regular expression that we're going to use, email has a couple, and the main one is really big, and we're not going to use that. We're going to use a short form for this. And it's not important to understand this completely unless you're really interested in regular expressions. But regular expressions can be helpful to do matches like this. So if you want to use it, for example, matching search results, and you want to use regular expressions, you can do that. But we are simply going to paste this. Okay, there it is. So slash, which is already given. This is the regular expression, and then slash I at the end. And then we're going to test out some strings. So let's put in an invalid email. We'll say IO, see, no matches, dot IO at example.co. Notice how there's a match result now. Now it's going to accept this as a valid email. Okay, .com, that's also valid. Let's enter in another one. Let's say IO at io.co.uk. This is also valid. But if I do simply io.io, no matches, meaning it's not valid. IO hello at example, no matches. So this is not valid. But as soon as I put in a dot and something, now it's going to accept it as valid. So this regular expression is good enough for our application. So right here, Command C. I'll go back here, Command V, and a slash in front, and then a slash I at the end. Save that. Now this will be provided in the next text lecture, so I'm not going to go through all of the details of this. So now we have username validation and we have email validation. So let's test it out. I'll do reload, bang. And then let's create a user4 equals user.new username colon Masroor email Masroor at example.com. Oops, I have an error. What did I do? I have a syntax error. It says valid email regex colon. Oh, okay. So this is not correct. It's not supposed to be colon. It's supposed to be equals. Okay, save that. So let's try that again. Okay, so this time it worked. Now if I do user4.valid, true. Okay. Now if I do user4.save, perfect. So I have a user created. Now let's test out with an invalid entry for email. I'll use user over here. I'll say Masroor at example, and I'll change the username to Masroor1. So username is valid, but email is not valid. And hit enter. And then user4.valid, false. Let's see the error messages. user4.errors.full_messages. Email is invalid. Perfect. So the email and the username validations are working. Let's look at our spec. Username must be present and unique. Email must be present and unique. Validate email format with regex. Perfect. So all of our validations for user are set. So I'm going to exit out of my Rails console and let's make a commit of our code. So git add -a, git commit -m, and I'll say add user validations, close quote. Okay. Now we have to merge our feature branch back with our master branch. So git checkout master. Now I'm back to master branch. Now this is still open from my feature branch. If I close this and if I go to my user again, notice how all of that is gone because I'm in the master branch now. So I'll merge my changes, git space merge space user dash validations. Hit enter. Okay, the changes are merged. Now if I open the user RB file, there you go, my changes are present in my master branch. Now I'll push my changes to my GitHub repository. So git push. Perfect. Now I want to delete my feature branch because I no longer need it. So git branch space -d user dash validations. Perfect. And that's all I want to cover in this video. I'll see you in the next one.